When a man believes something is possible, his mind begins searching for ways to achieve it. His mind will start picking up on cues that were missed before. He will start noticing how everything that happens is in some way related to what he is trying to achieve. This is why changing how you think is how you change your life. But most people never think big because they have already decided the road is not for them. They look at a dream and call it unrealistic. They see another man build something and they say, that is possible for him, but not for me. And that one thought becomes a prison, the kind that stops you from achieving anything. Most people do not lose because they aim too high. They lose because they never aim at all. They lower the dream until it no longer scares them. They make the goal smaller so the disappointment feels safer. All because of one simple thought, and they call it being realistic. But sometimes, realism is just fear wearing the clothes of wisdom. Sometimes the life you call practical is only the life you accepted because you were too afraid to ask for more. But if it is possible for one person to achieve, then why is it not possible for another? If it is humanly possible, then consider it to be within your reach. So, ask yourself honestly, if there is something you want to achieve, why can't you? Because once you ask it honestly, you can no longer hide behind the old story. You can no longer pretend the dream was impossible simply because it was difficult. Do not confuse your current identity with your future potential. Who you are right now is not who you will always be. Where you are now is not where you will be forever. Things change. You change. But only if you stop treating your present situation like it is your forever home. Because it is not. Your current discipline is not your final discipline. Your past failures are not a life sentence. A man can change the way he thinks. He can change what he feeds his mind. But first, he has to let go of the small version of himself. But that's something most people don't want to do. Most people are loyal to the old identity. The identity that says, I am not the type of person who could do that. I am not smart enough. I am not disciplined enough. I am too late. And so the dream gets buried. Not because it was weak or wrong, because the man carrying it did not yet believe he was capable. But the dream that keeps returning keeps coming back for a reason. Do not ignore your purpose. Do not silence every vision that makes you uncomfortable. That dream is not there to entertain you. It is there to confront you, to ask if you are willing to become the person who can carry it. Because big dreams do not just require desire. They require action. They require change. Big dreams require you to let go of your older self. That version of you cannot carry the future you say you want. A bigger life demands a bigger man. So become that man. Thinking big is not sitting still and pretending the universe owes you a miracle. It is refusing to let your present limits decide your future. It is looking at the life in front of you and saying, this is not all I was created to become. It is giving your mind permission to search beyond survival, beyond average. Because many people never ask themselves what they truly want. They never sit in silence long enough to tell the truth. They do not ask themselves the important question, what would I build if fear wasn't an obstacle? Imagine you could never fail at anything. What then would you do with your life? The answer to that question reveals where your true desires lie. It reveals the dream beneath the fear. And that is where most people retreat. They would rather pretend they do not care than admit they are afraid. They would rather mock big dreams than risk being seen trying. But saying you want to do something great and falling short is still more honorable than never moving at all. Trying and failing teaches more than standing still ever will. Because failure at least gives you evidence. It gives you something to work with. But regret gives you ghosts. One of the biggest regrets people have is not living their life in a way that brings them closer to the life they dream about. Not failing, not falling, but knowing there was something in you that kept calling, and you kept ignoring it. Knowing there was a purpose given to you, and you kept running from it out of fear. That is a heavy thing for a man to carry. It will cause a man to live with the burden of regret, and that regret will weigh down on him every single day. You only have one life, so why live it living someone else's dream? You can either wake up and spend your life building someone else's dream, or wake up and build your own. That does not mean you abandon responsibility. It means you stop abandoning yourself. It means you stop living as if your purpose is optional. Every morning, your energy is going somewhere. Your focus is building something. The only question is whether they are shaping the life you actually want, or a life you simply fell into because you were afraid to think bigger. That is why your thoughts matter. As you think, so you become. Because thoughts become direction. Direction becomes choices. Choices become habits. And habits build the life you are living. If you keep telling yourself you cannot, your mind will stop looking for ways that you can. If you keep speaking defeat, you train yourself to expect defeat. A man cannot pour poison into his mind every day and expect his future to taste clean. You must guard your mind. Guard your words. Because the mind is like a factory, and every day something is being built. Either courage or fear, vision or limitation. Either a man who believes there is more ahead of him, or a man who has already accepted the ceiling. Try this. Visualize your future self who has achieved the goal you keep dreaming about. Visualize the habits, the actions, the mindset of the most successful version of you. See how he wakes up. See what he refuses to waste time on. See how he speaks to himself. See how he handles pressure. Then, let that vision guide you. Use that vision as a map. Let it change what you do in the morning. Let it change what you consume. Let it change who you listen to. Because if the vision does not change your behavior, it is not a vision. It is entertainment. And many people are entertained by the idea of a better life. They watch it. They imagine it. They feel inspired for a moment. Then they return to the same routines that keep them exactly where they are. That is not thinking big. That is wasting time. The magic of thinking big is not that the thought does the work for you. The magic is that the thought reveals what work must be done. It shows you the gap between who you are and who you must become. It shows you the skills you need, the discipline you lack, the habits you must build. Because the real question is not only, what do you want? The deeper question is, What must you become to carry it? That is where the dream becomes serious. A small version of you can want a big life, but only a transformed version of you can hold it. And transformation is not always beautiful while it is happening. It is uncomfortable. It is lonely. It will make you question yourself. And this is exactly where most people fall. They want the dream, but they do not want the process. They want the harvest, but they do not want the loneliness that comes with it. But a seed does not become a tree by protecting its old form. It has to break. It has to be buried. It has to disappear from sight before it rises into what it was always meant to become. And so do you. You must let go of your old habits, because if you hold on to those habits, on to that version of yourself, you will always be held back from what you are fully capable of. But full commitment gives a different kind of peace, even if you fall, even if you lose. At least you know you did not betray your purpose. At least you know you honored the dream with action. And action is where the future begins to open. Even if you fail at what you were aiming for, you never know where life will take you. Action breeds opportunity. So start with one small step, 1 hour. One decision to stop shrinking your future to match your current fear. Because who you are today is only a point of reference, not the limit. Your current life is not the full measure of what you are capable of. There is more beneath the surface than your results show. But you will never discover it if you keep living inside a small mental room. You have to leave the familiar. You have to step outside the box other people built for you. Because people are going to judge anyway. But that's fine. Let them. If you're going to be judged, then you might as well be judged for pursuing your own purpose rather than someone else's. Your responsibility is not to convince them. It is to become who you were meant to be. To build. To keep walking toward the vision until your life becomes proof of what you're capable of. And when you do that, your dream stops being only about you. Because the person you become touches other people. Your story will become a path for others to follow. That is why thinking big matters. Not because ego needs a larger stage, but because purpose needs room. A man who thinks too small can bury gifts that were meant to serve more than himself. He can keep locked inside him the very thing that could have lifted his life, his family, and the people connected to his path. So stop being okay with living in fear. You were not given a mind only to repeat what you already know. You were not given a dream only to admire it from a distance. Think bigger. Then become stronger. Work on your habits. Work on your discipline. Because the future does not belong to the man who dreams once and then drifts. It belongs to the man who lets the dream reshape him. The man who guards his thoughts. The man who understands that his current identity is not a cage. It is clay, and it can be shaped. So ask yourself honestly, what would you pursue if you could never fail? What desire keeps returning no matter how many times you try to bury it? And what kind of man would you have to become for that dream to stop being a fantasy and start becoming your life? Then start there. And move with discipline. Move with patience. Move with the humility to learn and the hunger to keep going. Because the magic of thinking big is not that life suddenly becomes easy. It is that your mind stops accepting small as final. It is that your actions begin answering a higher call. And one day, if you keep walking, you will look back and realize something quiet but powerful. You have finally started walking into the life you once thought was out of reach.